Welcome. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. I do apologise. First of all, I won't get this out of the way. We did plan to do this last week, but I was having some technical issues, so I do apologise if you tuned in last week. But anyway, here we are. My name's Alex, and I'm one of the chefs that work for Vegetarian for Life. Now, today, I want to show you how to make a wonderful 3-course vegan Christmassy meal. It's actually really lovely, and I would implore you to have a go at these recipes. Now, you'll find all the recipes on our website, so do have a look at that. I'm going to talk about more of the services we do or we offer to support caterers and older vegetarians and vegans as we go along, but I really want to get stuck in to some cookery to start off with. So I'm going to show you how to make a wonderful soup. I'm going to whiz through that really quickly, but the main dish that I want to show you is a mushroom, nut and cranberry Wellington. It really is worth making. It's a beautiful centerpiece. Definitely worth having a try. And I'm also going to show you how to make a beautiful syllabub, a Christmas syllabub. Everything I'm making, by the way, is all vegan. So it's really easy for vegetarians and vegans and non-vegans as well to be able to enjoy the same food. This really is lovely. But anyway, so I'm going to do that. I'm also going to talk to and show you, well, not show you how to make. I'm going to talk through a lovely dessert called Hancha, which is very Christmassy. You may not have heard of it, but I'm sure you'll love it. And also some truffles as well. Let's make a start. So I'm not going to do it in that order. It's just kind of the way I need to do things. So let's start off with our mushroom Wellington. So I'm just going to grab my ingredients. So excuse me for turning my back for a moment. Now, good old Blue Peter style. Yes, I've got everything chopped and ready to go. Now, I want to start this first because I want it to cool slightly before I wrap it in pastry. So bear with me 1 second. Now, I need to switch this on. Now, this is going to beep and make a few buzzes, so I do apologise about that, but we'll get going and I'll show you how to make these dishes. So, the mushroom Wellington. You will need. I'll tell you what. Let's get the onions. That's just a bit of olive oil. Let's get the onions in here, so they can be cooking off. And don't need that. And then we can whisk around the rest of the ingredients. So I have here 1 onion that I've kind of chopped, reasonably small. Finely, you can do that as well. And this just needs to cook down for about 5 minutes or so. Now, I'm not going to let it cook for the full 5 minutes because it's going to get a bit dull. But, so I've got that. I've also got mushrooms. So this has got 300 to 350 grams of mushrooms. You can use any mushrooms you fancy. I've just got ordinary chestnut mushrooms here. So you need lots and lots of mushrooms. Chop them up fairly fine. That's kind of the thing you need. I've also got some nuts here. Now, I've roasted these first of all, and then I put them into a grinder just to break them down. As you can see, that's sort of quite a fine powder, but I've also left a couple of little bits in there, just so that the Wellington has a bit of texture. Now, if you're catering people where nuts might be a little bit of an issue, then obviously you want to grind that down a little bit further. So with those fancy little machines, you just press it and it'll grind it down. Any nuts will work fine. You can buy them in the supermarket or the suppliers. Kind of general mixed nuts are fine. So we've got that. Also got some carrots, which are going to add a bit of colour and texture to it. We've also got some breadcrumbs. Now, the breadcrumbs are quite important because this is going to bring it all together. We'll be able to stick all the filling together. It'll hold together, and then I'll be able to slice it once it's been wrapped in pastry and cooked, and it will hold together really well. Don't know how that slipped in. I don't want that one. That's something else. Excuse me. I've also got some garlic. I'm not going to put the garlic in just yet because there is a tendency for it to burn, and once it burns, it gets really bitter and it's not that pleasant. What else we've got? Oh yes, we've got some cranberry. Now you can use dried cranberries. They're really nice. I've done that before, and that's quite lovely because you get little sort of pockets of bursts of flavour. But it can be quite a sweet flavour when you've got them completely dried. So what I'd recommend is to use, cranberry sauce. I mean, you can use red currant jelly if you fancy it. I've also got lots of herbs, and I've got some tomato paste over here, and garlic, as I mentioned, and lemon juice. So really need lots and lots of flavour to give this, this dish lots of, make it nice and tasty. Okay, right, so our onions are just about done now. So let's just switch that back on, and then we can start to put the other ingredients in. So I've got my mushrooms. In we go with the mushrooms. Now these will obviously cook down, so it might look as though you've got a great big pile of mushrooms, but it will all start to come down in a few minutes. Into that we can put in the carrots, and we go with those. Let that do its thing. And the garlic. So let's get the garlic in. Now, if the people you're catering for are fans of garlic, then just obviously leave it out. But it's because it's wrapped in pastry, you want the filling to have, you know, a good amount of flavour. So let's just let that cook down and do its own thing. There we go. Okay, so I can put the other ingredients now. It will just start to simmer and just reduce. So I've got the juice of a lemon. Now this is just going to give this a nice zingy flavour. That was actually fresh lemon, but if you want to use the, you know, the bottle stuff, that's fine as well. I've also got in here a little bit of Henderson's relish. It's a vegetarian version of, well, it's not a version of, it is what it is, Leon Perrin sauce. You know, it's got fish in. So vegetarians and vegans, we don't eat fish. So you can buy lots of alternatives. And one of my favourites is Henderson's relish, but there's also other brands out there as well. But do check the label. It's a key thing. Check the label, check the label, check the label. If you can't get hold of any, you can use a little bit of balsamic vinegar, but not too much because it will make it quite vinegary. So in we go with that. I've also got my herbs. Now really go to town with herbs. Dry to fine, fresh, either way. It's a good sprinkle of herbs in there. It's going to do its thing, lovely. And we can pop in the cranberry sauce, and we go. And that's going to make it a little bit sweeter. So it's just going to give it a sort of a bit of a unique flavour. Also, we've got our tomato paste in there as well. So I just give this a bit of a stir to make sure everything is cooking well. You can see the steam coming from this. The mushrooms really do smell quite nice, but also, you know, that little bit of Henderson's relish, that's just a little bit of extra flavour in there does make a difference. Now, this recipe is on our website along with lots of other stuff as well. But if you wanted to play around with it, you really can. So if you've got some mustard, you want to add some mustard, that's really good. I've done that. If you've got some pickles, they can go in as well. Really, you know, it's quite a flexible recipe. I wish you could smell this. Well, you will if you make it, but it really is smelling lovely. We're nearly done with this part of the Wellington. Okay, so into that now we can put all those roasted and ground nuts. So of course the nuts are providing a really good source of protein. So you know this Wellington has got, you know, quite a good amount of nutrition in it. So certainly worth having a go. Right, okay, I'm concentrating because I want to make sure that this is all mixed up thoroughly, because if you don't, when you slice it, bits will fall out, and I don't want that to happen. So finally, I'm just checking I've got everything in. Yes, I'm going to put in the breadcrumbs, and this is the thing, as I say, which is going to help to stick it all together. Now, stop beeping. Now, if you wanted to make this gluten-free, you can do, but obviously you need to use a gluten-free breadcrumb to make the crumbs. But we're also going to wrap this in pastry, and you can buy gluten-free pastry as well, and that will work well. But I'm actually going to use some puff pastry, which is very, very handy, very handy indeed. Now, if you can see this, it looks kind of, it's sort of holding together quite firm. So if I just, it can sticks like that, and that's what you're after, because eventually, once it's cooled a bit, I'm going to shape it and then wrap it in pastry. And you need to be able to get that sort of stickiness to it, so that when you eventually slice it, it'll all hold together well. Lovely. Right. Well, I'm kind of reasonably happy that that's doing its thing. So all I want to do now is just set this to one side to cool, and I can roll out the pastry. So I'll need that shortly. Let's get that. Don't need this for the moment. And let's put this over here just to cool. Okay, so what I want to do now is to roll out my pastry. Now I've just kept it in the fridge just to keep it chilled. So I need my knife and my scissors. There we go. I'm just going to roll this out now. What's really handy about this brand, which is the Just Roll, and get into it, is that the puff pastry is dairy-free. It's vegan. Okay, so beyond the recipe that I'm showing you today, there's lots of other uses for it. But always check. Sorry about the rattling. Always check on the label. I mean, people, manufacturers are really getting quite good with this. But you might be surprised if you're not used to catering for vegetarians and vegans, the vast range of different products that are available. Now, let me just get some flour in here, and I can start rolling this out. So I do want it just to relax for a minute, because it might just stretch back. So let's get my rolling pin. This is the only bit of work you need to do for this dish. It really is. I tell you what, it's also good to make ahead of time. Now you can freeze this. Turn sideways if you don't mind. You can freeze this when it's completely cooked. Let it cool. Obviously, label it. But it's much better, I think, to freeze it when it's wrapped in the pastry and the pastry is not cooked. And that means you can just take it straight from the oven. Straight from the freezer into the oven and bake it that way. So really, I would do it that way around. But you can, of course, cook it, let it chill, and then freeze it, and then just reheat it. But do be careful that the pastry doesn't catch when we reheat it. Obviously, reheating it thoroughly. There we go. Nearly done. Nearly done. Nearly done. Right, that will do. That will do. So I've got my baking sheet here, and I want the pastry just to relax a little bit, because it will kind of want to just come back, even though it's it's pre-made and I've not been working it. But that should be enough. So I'm just going to pop that on my tray while the filling is just cooling. So I'd like to talk through very quickly our soup. Now this soup, let's bring this round. There we go. I got my pan. And I really just want to talk through this. You know how to make soups, but this one I think is rather special. So again, a little bit of oil into your pan, and then onions. Take one onion. When do you not take one onion? In we go with that. Let it saute away and let it cook down. Take your time with it. I'm not going to take my time today. Just let that do its own thing, okay? And then we can imagine, if we've moved forward in time, that these are lovely and caramelized. At that point, we can start to add the other ingredients. So I have here some carrots. You can use sweet potato. It's really good doing that. I've done that. Or if you've got any pumpkins. It might sound a bit an odd thing to say. It's not really a Christmas thing. It's autumn or Halloween. However, you may have bought some really lovely pumpkins, and they're still good to eat. And if they are, then you can use that with it. But either way, carrots do work a treat. Now, I've also got some garlic. In we go with the garlic. Now, slight deviation to the recipe. It's not in the recipe, but I think it's quite good. If you add a handful of red lentils in there, not in the recipe, so it won't be there. But anyway, a handful of red lentils in there. and that's just going to improve the nutrition, but it's also going to just give it a little bit of texture. It's maybe something that I like. I like soups with a few lentils in there, but it's just kind of my thing. I think it works. A handful of red lentils and also some stock. Now, do be careful of the stock you use. Catering for vegetarians or vegans, so you need to make sure that you get everything right. It's all about sort of detail and forward planning. So with the stock, I've obviously got a vegetable stock, but do make sure, even if it's a vegetable stock, it's not got any derivatives from milk in there, and some do. So do be careful about that. I'm also going to put in some orange juice. In we go with orange juice. And if you notice, I did zest the outside, so I'm going to put a little bit of orange zest in there too. But I'm going to reserve just a little bit for garnish at the end. So I'll set that to one side. Obviously, this is not going to cook in the time. I've got one over there already done. But I did want to talk through this because it is a really lovely, easy to make starter. And it's a bit special. It's got that those flavours in. You can put ginger in there. That's really nice. That was that bit of ginger I set to one side. You know, a little bit of ginger. I wouldn't put too much in because it can get quite spicy. You've got a bit of chilli if you wanted, but not too much of either of those things. But when you cook it, it really has a lovely, quite posh sort of flavour to it. Little swirl of vegan cream or vegan creme fraiche, which is really easy to get these days. I'll talk more about that in a second, but it is worth it. It's definitely worth having a go at this. And of course, you can make it ahead of time and freeze it, and then just have it as you want as a lovely starter. And it's a starter that everybody will enjoy. Okay, so there's nothing about it that is, you know, vegan or veggie. It just happens to be, and it's absolutely delicious. So do give that one a try. Okay, now let's move on. Let's get rid of this and get rid of that. Let's bring back our pastry. So what I find, it's much easier, let's try around. It's much easier to put your pastry onto the tray and roll it on the tray rather than rolling it separately and then bringing it together. So it just kind of is a bit difficult to lift it up. So what I want to do is, and hopefully this is going to be cool enough to handle, is to put some of this filling down the middle. Now it may look as though I'm putting quite a lot on, and indeed I am, but you do need, excuse me for disappearing, you do need to push it down. So this is when it's very handy just to let it cool a bit. So you can make a little pies on the beach or whatever you used to do. So I do want to make sure, I keep saying this, I know, but if you don't do it, the presentation at the end won't be that good. So let's just shake that and press that in like so. Now, obviously I'm using my hands here, so I'm going to end up with some of the filling on my hands. So if I don't give it a good rinse, this is from times gone by, or a good wipe, then when I touch the outside of the pastry, then I'm going to make that messy, and I don't want that. I want it to look really nice. So all we do from here is fold this over the top like so, over the top like so. This comes over here like that. How easy is this? Over we go like that, and then what I do is just roll it over so that the bit of stray mushroom there, so that the seal is on the underside. So there we have our mushroom Wellington ready to bake. So at this stage, you can freeze it, or you can cook it and then reheat it as you want. The last thing that I do is just to brush this with a little bit of soya milk, just to give it a nice glaze. Okay, right, so that's our main done. I'll let you into a secret. I made one earlier, and you'll see it when it's finished. So we don't need to wait for that forever. So let's just pop that to one side. Lovely, right then. Let's think about a dessert. Now, this is the easiest dessert you're ever going to get. It really is so easy to make, but it's certainly worth having a go. So I've used this brand here. This is Elm Lee. You find it in quite a lot of the supermarkets these days, and it's a vegan whippable cream. Really handy. Really handy to have in. It will whip nice and light. Oops, losing it there. So you can see that it just gets a nice proper whippable texture. So let's pop some in there. And this is, don't need it all today. And this really is such an easy dish to make. Now then, to give this a bit of flavour, what I want to do is to put some zest of an orange in here. So I'm only going to do a little bit because it makes a bit of a racket with the microphone. So we're going to put a bit in there. So you've done that before. In we go, just on the outside. Now I have got some that I've already grated. So in we go with that. And just that small amount really is going to make a difference with the flavour of that. Now, I'm also going to add just a little bit of sugar. I don't want too much, but I just want a bit, just to add a little bit of sweetness. And I wish I got my little serving dishes here. Don't need that. For a second anyway. Put that to one side. Now, here's the treat. If you want to add, and it won't be for everyone's thing, a little bit of booze in there. It just makes it a little bit more Christmassy, I guess. But of course, if you're catering for someone who doesn't have any alcohol at all, even if the tiniest amount, then you need to make sure that you don't put any in. Even if you swapped it for vanilla, which is a nice swap, vanilla essence, do be sure to check that there's no alcohol in that, because some brands do. So you could just put a little bit of vanilla pot instead. However, I've got, and you can use Grand Marnier, because it complements with the orange, but I've got a bit of posh gin. It's just a little bit of posh gin and orange. You can give these one together. So in we go with that. It's a bit of a treat. Give this a little mix, like so. And that is almost done. So if I just grab my orange there and start to give a little bit of a segment. So what I do is to just peel this and then take out some of these segments. So this takes me back to being at catering college, and it's one of those things that you practice. It really is worth doing. So all I want to do is to take out a few of these segments, but I do want to take off all of the rind and the pith. So there we are, done that. That can go down there, and then all we do is just take out a couple of segments like so. Wonderful. So I'm not going to do loads of these, and you can mix in the fruit into the cream, or you can just use that as a bit of a garnish at the end. But what I'm going to do is put a couple at the bottom and then decorate on the top. And that will do us. And even though it's very simple and very easy to prepare, the flavour really is lovely. It really is a nice treat. So in we go. We've got the spoon. In we go with our cream, like so. Of course, you can swap the fruit as you want. Wonderful. And then we've got our little bit of garnish on the top, like so. If I remember, there we are. We've got the little bit of zest just to go on the top, like so. So it's a very simple little dessert. Easy to make ahead of time, and it's something that everyone can enjoy. Now then, it's Christmas. You might notice Christmas is coming up, and if you're a caterer and you're thinking about planning your Christmas meal, there's a few things that you really need to think about. The first thing is to not leave it to the last minute. Okay, really plan ahead. Now, if you're catering with someone and you've not catered for them before, my biggest tip I would say is to ask them what they would like to eat. Some people like fake turkey, that sort of fake faux meat or whatever, and that's fine, obviously, if they'd like to have that. Some people don't like pastry, so why spend all the time preparing and doing all these things if the person that you're catering for isn't keen on that one? So do ask them what they would like. Now, it's not just about the Christmas dinner. Obviously, that's very important. It's all the peripheral things that go along it. So if you're catering for someone and you're in a care home, you're in an establishment, residential establishment, and you've got something planned for Christmas Eve, do you have something for your vegetarians and your vegans? If you're having a buffet, is there a good range of foods for your vegan and vegetarian residents, or the families that might come visiting? I would always make more than just for that one person or 2 or 3 people that are vegetarian or vegan, because everyone will want to have a little try of it and sample it. So it's important to make a few extra things. So that's the Christmas Eve. What about other things? So Christmas Day, when you're roasting the potatoes, is there a big fashion about using goose fat? Well, obviously vegetarians don't eat geese, so roast them in vegetable oil, keep them separate. Everything else can be made easily. So we've got our Wellington. You can choose lots of other things as well. Have a look on our website. We've got a whole range of Christmas recipes, which reminds me, we've also got this little booklet, Festive Delights. There's lots of recipes in here from mince pies and all sorts of things in there. So I would have there's a nice brownie recipe in there. So I would check this one out, and you can see that on our website, or you can order it. We've also got, in terms of resources that might support you, vegan baking. So a lot of baking over the past year for kind of obvious reasons. But however, if you're moving towards catering for vegans and vegetarians, you may need a few clues, and you can find all of these recipes on our website. So there's vegan baking, some lovely recipes in there. One of my favourites is a sticky toffee pudding. It really is really good. And then Hancha as well. And Hancha, I want to show you the Hancha. I'll show you at the end. Okay, so that. Now, obviously, not just around Christmas, but it's very important if you're catering people that need a little bit of extra fortification. And if you're catering someone that's vegetarian or vegan, especially vegan, then you may need a bit of extra support. And this booklet should help you. I'll point you in the right direction. All of these are available on our website. So go to Vegetarian for Life and you'll find these and tons of other resources. So let's put this to one side and let's start bringing all this together. So I don't need that. So my Wellington, the one I made earlier, bear with me, and here it is. It is lovely and warm. I'm just going to move this out of the way because I don't want to spill anything onto it. So look at that, mate. Sorry for the rattling there. How's that? I mean, that really is say so myself, I made it. But it really is a lovely dish, great for a centerpiece, or you can have this, as part of a Sunday roast. It's really good. Now let's start to serve this. Let's bring this together. Now I did promise that I would tell you about the Hancha, and I want to just show you this because this is such a lovely little dish. So this uses phyllo pastry. These are chocolates, I'll come to that in a second. Phyllo pastry. Now, phyllo pastry is great for making desserts, for making savoury dishes. And with this one, it's a North African dish, and it's called Hancha. You'll find the recipe on our website, but it uses phyllo pastry. Now, inside here, it's full of chopped cherries, and it's got sugar, it's got ground nuts in there, it's got cinnamon, it's got clove in there. Really is a wonderful sort of Christmassy dish using the phyllo pastry. But do check, because not all brands are vegan, so you do need to make sure that is. Now this will freeze really well, and it's much nicer. I think it's much nicer anyway. Sorry for turning my back. When it's cold, it kind of sets. It's really nice. So we just want to decorate this with a little bit of sugar on the top, like so. Also, maybe some chopped flaked walnuts on the top like that. You can put some glacé cherries around it, so you end up with something. You can see that that looks like that. And what you do is when you serve it, it's nice with a great cup of tea because it's quite sweet. You just have a little piece like so, like so, like so, like so, like so, like so. Now, when you slice it, because it's phyllo pastry, it's going to be a bit crumbly. So what I would do is bring it to the table, and then make a show of it and talk about it, and then slice it as you're putting it out. Otherwise, it will look, you kind of gone to this effort of creating this lovely sort of snake coil, but when you slice it up, you won't see that. So I would do that. I'd bring that to the table. So that's my Hancha. You'll find that recipe on our website along with lots of others. Okay, one last quick. I do want to show you. It's these lovely little truffles. It's these extra touches. So it's vegan chocolate and hazelnuts, and I've roasted them and peeled the hazelnuts. So rub the sort of that bit of skin off. Dead easy to do that. And then mix the some of the melted chocolate with cocoa powder and some of the ground nuts until you get sort of like a sticky substance. Bring that together into little balls, push a hazelnut into the middle, let it chill, and then dip that into melted chocolate, and you end up with these homemade little truffles. You can play around with the recipe as you want with different sorts of fillings and things and different coatings, but it's certainly worth having a go of that. So it's another part of the experience over Christmas. Okay, so I would give that a go. Okay, then let's bring our dinner together. So we have, first of all, our soup, what I promised I made earlier, which I did. So here we have our lovely carrot and ginger soup, which does smell gorgeous. It really does. And then just to garnish that with a little bit of coriander. And let's get that in there, and a little bit of vegan cream. The thing to do is just to remember, don't spoil it at the last minute. If you create something that's vegan or vegetarian, then don't use animal fat, don't use beef dripping or whatever. It's just, while you've got this bit of calm in the run up to Christmas, I'm sure you're very busy, but you've just got that bit of time to plan ahead. It's all about planning ahead. And of course, not just Christmas Eve, not just Christmas Day, New Year's Eve parties, special occasions throughout the season, all got to be thought through carefully. So there we have our lovely little starter, which is the carrot and ginger soup. So I'll just set that behind me for one moment, and then we can bring our lovely if I bring out a plate here, so instant Christmas dinner. So this should, if I'm just very careful, yeah, there we go. So you end up with this wonderful, wish you could smell it, honestly, it really smells really good. So Christmas dinner, so we've got all the little treats and things like that, so you've got the cranberry sauce. If you do a bread sauce, you can do it with soy milk if you're going to make a bread sauce. You've got your roast potatoes, which are cooked separately, or at least not in animal fat. If you're making stuffing, do check the label, but most are vegetarian and vegan. Of course, the sprouts, which everyone debates about whether you should have sprouts or not. For me, got to have sprouts, some peas and broccoli, and some carrots, and then finally just some gravy. Now you can buy instant gravy granules. Bisto, the original one, is vegan. So add hot water, give it a stir, and you're done. No bother at all. If you want to get a bit fancy and create your own vegan onion gravy, we've got a great recipe on our website. Have a look at that. So we'll just put on, there we go. Look at that. Hey, wonderful, 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 wonderful. So we've got our main course over there with all these nice treats. We've got our soup, of course, and then just to finish off, we have our Christmas syllabub. Look at this, how are you doing? Let's squeeze that in. It will fit, And we've also got our Hancha. Well then, I hope you've enjoyed this very short presentation. do have a look on our website because we've got lots and lots of information to support older vegetarians and vegans. We've got 1,500 or thereabouts, 1,500 establishments that have signed up for best practice. They're on our UK list. So if you're interested and in signing up, it's initially free, but there's a higher level, a premium level. So do have a look at that. It's not that expensive. It really is worth having to go looking at that. We've got training available for chefs. Now we're doing a lot online, obviously, at the moment. However, we are moving to do face-to-face training. So if you're interested in that, do have a look on our website. You can see some details on there. We've got all sorts of other services that we provide to support older vegetarians and vegans. Now then, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope I've given you a little bit of inspiration, and I'll just say Happy Christmas to everybody, because it's getting close to it. We're getting close to it, and I hope you have great success with your Christmas meals and your catering. And if you need a bit of extra support, then please don't hesitate to visit our website or give us a call, and I'm sure we'll be able to point you in the right direction and answer your questions. But from now until then, have a wonderful time, and remember, it's all about forward planning. You've got to plan it ahead. Well, it's a little bit quiet. It might not be quiet for you, but it's forward planning, and that will make your Christmas go nice and smoothly, and you'll have very happy vegetarians and vegans enjoying your food. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you another time, I'm sure. But until then, happy Christmas, and I'll see you again. Take care. Bye-bye.